Milwaukee Emergency Operator 71.
Okay, hi. I'm on 25th and State, and this is young man. He is butt naked. He has been beaten up. He is very bruised up. He can't stand. He's study fall out. He is butt naked. He has no clothes on. He is really hurt.
Dinner in Hell Band!
Yeah!
Oh, listen to him fucking ripping up there.
Oh my God.
Incredible. They're just fucking crushing it. Oh man, look at this audience.
Incredible group of people.
Welcome back for another exciting edition of the Dinner in Hell podcast, the show where two amateur historians talk about the atrocious underbelly of history. I am one of your co-hosts, Brad the Impaler, and with me, as always, Ron the Murder Machine Maiden.
Oh, so many murders. So many murders to get this nickname.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's the one, there's the other, the Cedar Point, there's frickin' when I was in Europe, there's
Pablo.
Frickin' at Pablo and Jago Lake. When I was a kid, I killed another kid at the water park. I frickin' threw him in the killer whale pool.
There was the saltwater taffy incident.
Yeah, where everyone thought they accused me of poisoning the guy. Shit, so many murders. Murder Machine. That's where it came from. That's the origin. If you guys are listening out there, if you go to my Wikipedia, you know that.
Speaking of murder.
Speaking of Wikipedia. We're talking a murderer on today's program, are we not?
We are indeed. Perhaps the most famous of murderers in America. You think? Maybe?
This is this murderer that we're going to discuss?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, one of the most famous, yeah. Can I go ahead and
Tell us.
Today's program is about Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, serial killer.
The Milwaukee Monster himself.
This guy, Jeffrey, did this in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is could be the second closest story that we have done to where we live.
Yeah, I think so.
In Michigan. The Mackinac one would be closest.
Because it is in Michigan.
And if you count, but the distance from here to Mackinac, it might be closer for us to go to Milwaukee.
Yeah, it might be.
So we have to break out the GPS or something. By ferry, I'm talking. I'm not talking going around. I'm talking take a ferry from Grand Rapids or whatever to Milwaukee. That's what I'm saying. Okay,
well,
Jeffrey.
No, Mackinac City, you can be there in 5 hours. I think. Yeah.
Well, 3 to Grand Rapids and 2 across the ferry. I don't know. Where's Milwaukee? Is it on the coast of Lake Michigan?
I don't know either.
Now we're getting into North American geography.
Yeah, so Jeffrey Dahmer, when he was growing up, though, that was in Bath, Ohio. So
Freaking.
You could tie Ohio into this bad boy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We talked about H.H. Holmes attending U of M. Mm-hmm. Jeffrey Dahmer did a semester at OSU, Ohio State. God damn it.
I bet you they would have just... they would have started off friends, right? Because they would have had a lot to talk about, as you'll hear. But pretty soon, as soon as they found out which one went to the other college, they would have been bumping heads.
You talking about H.H. and Dahmer?
Yeah.
I'm just, yeah. But let me make this clear. We have a lot to cover with Jeffrey Dahmer. We've watched a lot of footage. We've done tons of research. We have tons of notes, but we want to stay around an hour. So we're going to be blowing through this. The thing that sucks is we actually had 4 pre-recorded bits and 3 games planned to go for our next episode, but we're not going to get to any of those.
No, we got to shelf all those. There's plenty of material here.
Well, you'll get those later in the season.
So, born in Bath, Ohio, grew up there as a toddler, starting out. Little Jeffrey, he was a normal, kind of happy kid, it seemed like. if, a little bit forgotten about. His mother was kind of wackadoo.
I think she suffered from some kind of anxiety disorder.
Yeah, anxiety, a neurodivergence of some sort. Definitely also hypochondria.
The father was out of town a lot. He was attending school trying to become a chemist.
Mm-hmm. And after he was a chemist, he focused a lot more on his work than he did the Dahmer household.
He's like, God damn it, woman. Quit your cackling. She's like, she would frickin' make a big deal out of like little things just to like, for attention, like really blow it out of proportion just so the husband would deal with her. And like, which includes one time she tried to take her own life with pills.
Overdose.
Yeah. She's trying to be like, don't leave me. If you leave me, guess what I'm going to do? And she did it. I don't know if that was her exact words. You have to ask her. She's still alive.
Joyce!
A lot of these people we're going to talk about today, well, not a lot, but his parents are both still alive.
Mm-hmm. Good old Lionel and Joyce.
Yeah, you should go to Lionel Dahmer's Twitter. He's awesome. You got to read what his tweet. It's amazing stuff.
A lot of really hot takes on.
I think he's verified too. Like
look for
million.
that blue check.
Lionel,
we're still waiting on ours.
The real Lionel Dahmer at the real Lionel Dahmer, I think is what it is. It's crazy.
Yeah, so a normal little toddler, little diaper pants Jeffrey was okay, but at the tender age of 4, our little friend Jeffrey underwent a double hernia surgery. Now, what was like? How the fuck does a 4-year-old get a hernia? Is he like working as a trucker on the midnights or something?
Sometimes the babies can be born with it, and it can cause their belly button to be sticking out.
Ah.
Yeah, and sometimes it can like kind of like heal and not need to be treated, and sometimes it has to be treated. So that's what I imagine he, like, I think like if say like you make a baby stand up on their legs, like when they're not strong enough yet, when they're too young, you're like, oh, she can stand. Look, I think that kind of shit might do a hernia.
Oh,
but I think that he was just born with like an abdominal hernia thing.
Okay, that makes sense. I was just imagining him like, I don't know, doing some like real heavy brickwork or something in the backyard.
So he had double hernia surgery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the double hernia surgery he underwent, and family members noticed afterward a stark change in Jeffrey's personality. They said he had become very quiet, really timid.
They loved it. They're like, finally, this frickin' brat.
Made him easier for Lionel to forget about.
Fucking Lionel. Yeah, they're like, man, now he's so quiet. Man, I'm going to get my kid double hernia surgery. I'm going to give my kid a double hernia.
It's like when people get their dogs like vocal cords removed so they can't bark.
That's so bad. I think there's one on my street.
Because if they don't make no noise, they still make... Yeah, it's fucked up.
Oh, poor thing.
Yeah, that's
taking away his spirit.
Yeah, I don't like that. Now, a teacher even noticed that Jeffrey was possibly neglected, showing concern on a report card for it. And she thought it was probably due to Joyce's illness. And you can't see because it's a podcast. The illness is in quotation marks.
What would it be that was forcing her to neglect him?
Well, the thing I read most commonly when doing my Dahmer research, my Dahmer due diligence, as I like to call it,
make me throw up.
was
addiction,
recovering from weakness.
What is that?
I don't know.
That's probably what they meant. Is anxiety disorder. Yeah, because I had recovering from weakness in the notes.
Oh, really?
But when I watched the trials, it was that. So that maybe the Wikipedia people that wrote that. I don't know.
Or like that was the weird 1985 terminology for it.
Yeah, like
because I read it in like more than a few different places.
Like if you think of weakness, you think someone that probably can't get out of bed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like depression, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So she couldn't get herself out of bed to take care of her kid. Like that's heavy. And she was taking drugs. She was taking those pills that she OD'd on.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So I would say the neglect probably was drugs too. She was like numb to the world.
I'll call it fucking Lionel's ass. Should have been stepping in and handling shit, but he's like focused on his chemistry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He doesn't. There's another little Lionel moment coming up after he becomes like, after the divorce. There's a little Lionel. Where's your head at Lionel moment? Oh,
I can think of one right now with young 4-year-old new quiet Jeffrey. When he asked his father, say, hey, Pop, what would happen if I put a bunch of these chicken bones in some bleach?
Yeah, Pop.
Yeah. Let me just throw this out there to our listeners. If your 4-year-old is wondering about preserving animal bones and in general just likes playing with bones, get that kid looked at, maybe.
Oh, going back to Mom,
mm-hmm.
She was suffering postpartum depression from his little brother being born.
David?
Yeah. And they allowed Jeffrey to name the brother.
Oh,
Jeffrey named him David.
He didn't. I'm surprised. I was thinking maybe something would have been like
entrail,
like guts. Yeah,
beat you. I knew where you were going with that one.
Head zombie Dahmer.
Yeah, like pancreas Dahmer.
Yeah,
like warm kidney Dahmer.
Yeah, something like that is what I was thinking. Maybe he would have picked.
We're foreshadowing some details we're going to get to. Dahmer and his roadkill.
Yeah, but Jeffrey was also subject to prolonged and ferocious fights between his parents. Lionel and Joyce did not always get along.
No, they fought.
Yeah.
Even into high school.
Had some real knockdown drag-outs, did they?
Oh, yeah. Even into high school. It was intense at home.
Mm-hmm. Now, he had a few friends as a little kid. He wasn't, a total fuck-up loser weirdo.
Yeah, some kids enjoyed him.
Yeah, now he was a lot more like a sideshow than a friend, though.
And there wasn't a lot of kids that lived in the area because the houses were spread apart. He lived in, surrounded by wooded, acres.
Yeah, sort of like Edward Scissorhands or something.
Lionel was looking to spread out everything.
Yeah.
He wanted to spread everything out, have a family, raise 2 boys on this property. So
is Lionel the chemist?
Lionel the chemist over here. I got 2 boys at home. I'm proud of them. I love them. I love those boys, even though I don't ever call them.
I ain't been home in 2 weeks.
I got no pictures of them on my Facebook. I love those boys. He was a good student in high school. He was smart.
Yeah, he didn't always get the best grades.
Because sometimes he was like, fuck this, I don't even care about social studies.
Yeah, he didn't really seem to give a shit, but he had a high IQ.
He could do it. He just was bored with it.
Yeah, also, a big problem for Jeffrey during these high school years academically was the fact that he was already a severe alcoholic.
Right.
Yeah.
He was drinking liquor in school.
Yes.
One student asked him what the heck he's doing.
Oh, yeah. He says, what's in your cup there, Jeffrey?
He's like, I'm drinking my medicine.
Oh, this is my medicine.
That's Jeffrey for you. That's Brad's Jeffrey.
That's my Milwaukee. I'm just going to give him one, even though he grew up in Ohio. He's still got it. I don't know.
Yeah, he's still an Ohioan. But as a youngster, he was interested in animals. He started collecting big, giant insects like butterflies, dragonflies, and keeping them in jars. He'd preserve them in jars.
Yeah, maybe I'm hoping, this behavior isn't so weird for a little kid,
Right, but then he went on to freaking getting on his bike and collecting carcasses on the side of the road, cars hit, dogs, foxes, raccoons, freaking possums out there. He would go and bag them up, take them home, and see what they looked like inside.
Yeah, now, I'll tell you, when I was in the 3rd grade, we were out for recess, and we were out near the back of the parking lot where the weeds and this little patch of woods were, and there's a dead animal that everybody watched sort of finish decomposing. And I noticed that everybody thought it was cool, like, and everybody liked it, like this squirrel skeleton, basically. So I kept the Doritos bag from my lunch in my pocket, and then when we went back in for recess, I dawdled behind, and then I picked up all the bones and put them in the Doritos bag and brought them in, and I put them in my desk.
Normal.
Yep, and I took them out because I got paranoid because I had these bones with me, and the teacher was like, "What is that you have?" Because she thought I was eating Doritos, and I was like, "Nothing. It's really nothing."
And you killed her? You hit her with a freaking snow globe on the back of the head? Bludgeoned her?
No, she threw them away. But then I don't think she ever told anybody about it.
Smell? Why is there bugs in here? Why is there gnats in here?
No, they were real clean by then. They're just bones.
Like a whole winter.
Honestly, now that I'm thinking back on it, there's a very real possibility it could have been somebody's like hot wings.
Jeffrey was interested in how the bones inside an animal fit together and how their organs looked on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has some degree of curiosity with that. Most people, myself included, just don't necessarily want to see for ourselves. We can learn from books and descriptions.
Wasn't there something when Jeffrey was young that turned him on, that got him interested in the bones?
Well, what it was is, I believe his class's dissection of fetal pigs roughly coincided with his, let's say, sexual awakening. It was right around the same time. Did you dissect fetal pigs?
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah, I think we did it around then, like 14, 15 in high school.
I think we did a worm, maybe a grasshopper,
mm-hmm.
and a pig, and we did a horse.
Yeah, I got extra credit during my fetal pig dissection for doing a brain transplant with another fetal pig.
You didn't hear? Did you hear that Dahmer's dad was cleaning out the dead bones from under the house, the crawl space? When he was throwing them in the buckets, little young Jeffrey was like fascinated with the bone.
I love the bones. I love the bones,
Daddy. With how the bones sounded. And when they hit the bucket, like clink, 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 like the bones, or like clink, 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 like, you know what I'm saying?
That's
like
fucking weird.
Yeah,
I'm weird, and I still think that's weird.
And so you were saying how he asked his dad how to like preserve chicken bones.
Yeah,
but after his dad was like in chemistry and shit, and when he was home with like teenage Jeffrey, like he would be asking his dad again, like, how can I preserve these bones, Pa? And the dad was like, you know what, this shit is weird, but this guy never talks to me about anything. Yeah. I'm gonna run with this. Yeah. So he like tells him how to preserve bones, and
you can like rationalize it, like be like, oh, he just wants to be a scientist like his old man. Yeah, but he doesn't ever want to learn anything but like, what do the guts feel like when you squeeze them? Like, that's all he cares about. He doesn't really want to learn anything. Yeah. The thing is Jeffrey Dahmer, gay man, and he's coming to terms with, he's becoming adolescent. He's going through puberty. He's realizing he's gay, but we're talking 1974 Bath, Ohio. Is probably not a super pleasant place to be gay. He probably didn't have any role models. So instead of thinking about other men when he masturbated, he thought of the other thing he thought was cool, which was the fetal pig.
Whoa. You went kind of deep with that one, Brad. That was pretty deep. Can we get a round of applause for Brad there? That was pretty freaking good. I did not know that. Like, once in a while, Brad will do detail and like totally like floor me, and that's one of them.
Oh, thank you. I feel so honored by that. He was a loner, but like we said, into high school, he remained sort of a sideshow freak that other people kind of liked. I mean, even he was made into a character in one of his classmates' sort of like comic strips he drew. Yeah. And one of his favorite things to do that would get a rise out of people is he would imitate his mother's interior decorator who had cerebral palsy.
They had an interior decorator?
Yeah, he's got that chemistry money, baby. Lionel's got it rolling in.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, he would just sort of, I mean, I'm not going to do it, but he would do an impression of somebody who had cerebral palsy. I mean, think Walter White's kid. And imagine how cruel, like, a sociopath like Dahmer,
Yeah. He would do seizures. He would knock shit over.
Yeah, and he would just say, like, really weird stuff, like, this has been known to have been said to be true. Like, he had, like, a whole weird list of bullshit that he would say that barely made sense, but it was weird, and people seemed to enjoy laughing at him.
Lest we forget, the young boy who had the double hernia surgery. So everybody out there, if you have a young boy that had double hernia surgery, treat him nice. Because 100% of double hernia surgery boys grow up to be killers.
That is verified fact.
Unless the mother is warm and loving.
Yeah, super duper nice, and always gets them the latest videos.
And is not a prostitute working out of the house.
Yeah, that can do some damage.
If you ever seen Watchmen, it's like Rorschach's mom's like, God damn it, I should have had an abortion. No, life's hard. Rorschach, it's journal.
He could never have a podcast. It'd be so short because of the way he talks. No time.
The world will look at me and say, please help me. And I'll say back, no. Dinner in Hell features the Watchmen.
The most emo superhero ever to live, even more than Batman.
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
That was irrefutably badass, though.
Fuck yeah.
Well, so young Jeffrey in high school, he might have said some shit like that, but he was usually just like slamming beers and shit basically all day.
The dude pulled a stunt one time, and he collected money from students, classmates. And it was like at a mall or something where they were doing free samples. You know, they have like the stand, like a grocery store has free samples. One after the other, like politely, he's taking one sunflower seed at a time and putting them in his mouth.
Yeah.
Until his cheeks are full of seeds. Okay? And all the students are watching, whatever, like they're kind of like, what's Jeff going to do this time? What's he going to pull? He spits all the seeds out all over the floor and yells like at the lady, I'm allergic. Like a total freaking psycho.
Dude, do you remember?
Someone's got to clean that up, man. Mall janitor's like, God damn it, Dahmer. You're banned from the mall, Dahmer. Dahmer! I'm going to get you, Dahmer. Dennis the Menace. Jeffrey the Menace.
Dude, do you remember when Burger King had that sandwich that was inspired by Shaquille O'Neal?
I thought you were going to say inspired by Jeffrey Dahmer. It was like the heart. It's the heart of an animal.
No, it was the one. It was like, it had like, looked like regular bread, but it was a Burger King sandwich. It was like Shaq would advertised it. It was branded with Shaquille O'Neal.
No.
Anyway, well, me and a few of my friends would drive around in my mom's van and put on ski masks and run into Burger King's, grab the Shaq stand-up and just run out, steal it, and drive away.
We came for Shaq. No one has to get hurt.
I don't think we ever said anything. We would just, like, 5 of us would just blitz through the doors, grab the Shaq, and run.
You have like one female member with her long hair sticking out of the mask, and she's got a stopwatch. She's like, 20 seconds.
That would have
15 seconds.
That would have been so much better.
Go.
All right, we've talked about Dinner in Hell time travelers. Come get me. Let's go redo this Shaq thing. Make it better.
Just next promo, we'll do it. You know?
Yeah. Now, in the end of high school, 17-year-old Jeffrey Dahmer, his parents get divorced. It's over between Lionel and Joyce. And Lionel's staying at a motel, and Joyce fucks off with David to go live with her mother, was it?
Something like that. Lionel, they're going through the divorce. Lionel's staying at a hotel the whole time, but he doesn't know that Joyce leaves.
Yeah, so Jeffrey.
That's the Lionel, the next moment I was telling you earlier.
Uh-huh.
Friggin' Lionel What's up with you, man?
Yeah, maybe call, check in. Just because you're divorced, you still are co-parents. You got to know what's going on in the other one's life. And oh, sweet, sad little terrifying weirdo Jeffrey left alone.
Sad? Sounds like he's having a blast. Partying, he's drinking liquor, freaking pulling convulsions in public places, and he's freaking having a grand old time.
Yeah, but the thing about Jeffrey Dahmer is nobody was ever laughing with him. It was made clear in every account of his young life that they were laughing at him.
Like, don't kill us.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, no. They used to bully the shit out of him. They used to kick the shit out of him, even though his old man had got him into weightlifting. So Jeffrey Dahmer, 6'4", and jacked because he's been fucking lifting weights since he was 13. His classmates would just call him Dumber.
No, you don't do that.
Yeah, they would just call him Dumber and beat his ass. But he would just take it. He would just like roll up and take it.
Fuck it. That's a little foreshadow.
And his acquaintances would say they were worried what would happen when he finally snapped. Whew. Talk about your all-time early calls.
So you mentioned he was going through puberty, and then at that time he realized he was not interested in women whatsoever. He was like, I like gay. I'm not gay. I like men.
Mm-hmm.
He started to fantasize about having a sexual partner, a male sexual partner that was like under his full control.
Yeah, he is a piece of shit. I mean, some things about Jeffrey Dahmer are sympathetic, but that is an early tip-off that, yes, this is like the monster that you're afraid of.
So what I'm saying is an unconscious person, like knocked out. So
yeah,
you're saying he's a piece of shit. You're saying he's a piece of shit right off the bat when we can still save this guy from being a killer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
he hasn't done anything bad. He just wants to do it with someone that's passed out. There's people that are like that. There's freaking weird ass shit out there.
Yeah, that could be practiced consensually, I suppose.
Was it like chloroform shit?
You could probably do it with that.
Yeah, like people freaking chloroform.
But I don't know, whose like fetish is it to not even be aware that they've had sex? Like, I don't know if that person exists.
Oh yeah, chloroform me.
Yeah. I don't even want to know what happened. That's what turns me on. I don't know. Maybe. There's probably people like that. I don't know.
I used to chloroform myself. And this is back like at least 3 years ago. This is a long time ago. And it was for stress. You know, helped. Mm-hmm. I used to grind my teeth. And so I just started chloroforming myself before bed. Fixed my teeth grinding.
Makes total sense.
Jeffrey is jacked. He's muscular.
Mm-hmm.
He's having fantasies about having a partner that's unconscious.
Oh, yes.
And he also starts to have a fantasy that's like crossing the line into crime.
Yeah, he has that fascination, that fantasy with a dominated, completely unconscious partner about a specific person. This is an unnamed jogger who used to run by his house every day. And I mean, I'm imagining, we're talking 70s, so we're talking like the tiniest little shorts you could have ever seen.
Half shirt,
yeah.
Like football jersey cut in half.
Yeah, something like that.
So the number is like in half.
Yep.
Glistening in the sun.
Yeah, we're talking
body hair.
Yeah, tanned.
I
can
like
see
Bo
how
Duke.
it would tantalize a young 18-year-old Jeffrey Dahmer.
Are you describing like Bo Duke jogging?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, John Schneider. BT is only 23 years old, you guys. You got to understand. He doesn't know a lot of pop culture from the 80s. Never mind. You ever seen the Gibbs brothers? Andy, Barry, the Bee Gees?
Yeah.
Like some hair like that, you know, like 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Running.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he would sneak and hide and spy on this jogger when he'd come by every day. Little Jeffrey just getting drunk and shit all in his house all day by himself.
Man, I just want to watch this guy jog.
Yeah. And now it came the closest to starting off the real shit when one day he went to his little hiding space where he'd watch the jogger go by, he brought a baseball bat with him.
Yep.
Now, he had another fantasy, young Jeffrey Dahmer did, of
playing professional baseball. Like freaking, this one's going off. This next homer is for this little boy in the hospital right now. He's on his deathbed. That's where Dahmer's head's at.
Yeah. Yeah, so he was going to wallop this guy, but he didn't show that day. And then he took that as a sign, I guess, and never went after the jogger again.
He's like, I shouldn't want to knock someone out with a baseball bat. I should want to knock one out of the park with a baseball bat. He's growing. He's trying to become a better person.
Yeah, now there is some difference between some other serial killers that, we talk about, and him in this regard, is that he kind of felt remorse and he didn't like killing people. He was what's called a product killer. I mean, you talk about like Ted Bundy or something, he's a process killer. Like, he wants to kill. That's the fun part for him. Jeffrey hated killing. He just wanted the body or a zombie, as you'll hear.
Yeah, he wanted someone that he could have full control over, but in reality, like the person, if he kills him, the reality is that he's going to have to get rid of it eventually because it's going to rot.
Yeah.
So he wants the zombie person so they're alive still, and he actually thought he could like talk to the person, the zombie partner person, whatever. All right, back to 1978. Now he's thinking, or no, this is when he's living alone at the house.
Mm-hmm. He's got another recurring fantasy, that of late at night, driving down the road, picking up a young hitchhiker.
A fantasy?
Yeah, he had the fantasy of that.
Okay.
And one night, driving home, his fantasy seemed to present itself to him. He saw a young man named Stephen Hicks, 18 years old, thumbing down the road, trying to go to a rock concert. And Jeffrey says, instead of that rock concert, how about we go back to my place and have a few beers?
Before we go any further, I just wanted to say that, the professor of psychiatry and psychology at the University of Arizona, Dr. Judith Becker, she has a lot of good details to this case. And Judith, if you could just go ahead and chime in.
I will.
With any details that you might have that could like help the story, if since you are a professional.
I will.
Great to have Judith here with us. I'm sorry, Dr. Becker.
That's right.
Or will you be okay with us calling you Judith?
I will.
So, Judith, Stephen Hicks, the hitchhiker, when they get back to the Dahmer household, what do?
Jeffrey reported that they talked and smoked some marijuana.
Oh, he did? Yeah, I mean, talked. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I had no idea that Jeffrey, I knew he drank, but I didn't realize that he actually like did smoke pot. He took pot too?
Yeah, I mean, she didn't mention how many pots they smoked. So it's impossible to tell how inebriated they were.
Judith, do you have any record of Jeffrey's talking about his pot smoking?
Jeffrey recalled having smoked 1 or 2 joints and had consumed a 12-pack of beer that day.
Now, a whole 12-pack? That is a healthy amount of beer, Judith.
So he brings him back to his house. They're getting high. They're drinking.
Fooling around a little bit.
And he wants to leave.
Yeah, eventually Stephen Hicks wants to, not live there. So he's like, all right, I'm taking off. And on the spur of the moment, Jeffrey decided to sneak up beside Mr. Hicks and smash his head in with one of his barbells.
He took the bar from the barbell and then strangled his put it on his neck and strangled him.
Yeah, that's how he finished off Stephen Hicks.
Jeffrey Dahmer's first victim, hitchhiker Stephen Hicks.
Yeah, now Jeffrey Dahmer also insatiable appetite, because even though he and Stephen Hicks had just had sex, he still found the wherewithal to masturbate over his recent kill.
That's right. So this crime is a sexual freaking crime now.
Yeah.
Like it was murder. It went from murder to freaking post-mortem sex crime awfulness.
Yeah, we're going a little crazy here right from the beginning.
And I'm not sure did he strip the hitchhiker nude, or was he still wearing clothes, Judith?
The hitchhiker was not wearing a shirt.
Right, the shirt. He was not wearing a shirt.
Okay.
So he takes the body. He has experience from dismembering animals.
Yeah.
And stripping the flesh from animals.
Oh, yeah.
So he has to get rid of the body?
He went to the crawl space and dismembered the body.
Yeah, he takes Hicks down into the crawl space where he dismembers his corpse.
Stephen Hicks is dead and masturbated on.
Oh, God.
If you're still with us... I hate saying, never mind.
Masturbated.
We don't usually say that word on this show. But the next day, he hides the body. You said he dismembered him?
Yeah, he cut him into pieces.
Yeah, under the crawl space of the house.
Yeah, right in the crawl space there, right in the Dahmer crawl space.
Isn't crawl space another serial killer was known to store like freaking tons of bodies in it?
Oh, the John Wayne Gacy did that. Yeah.
He's the one that dressed like a clown?
Yeah, lots of boys buried in that house. He even said when he was on trial, he was like, the most they can get me for is running a funeral parlor without a license.
Oh, John Wayne Gacy episode coming soon.
See, probably eventually.
Okay, so
So after the dismemberment, he buries Stephen Hicks's various parts around the property, but he decided that wasn't good enough and dug them up, removed the flesh with acid, and shattered the bones with a hammer, washing the dissolved flesh, flushing it down the toilet.
God, can you imagine, like, what's wrong with the plumbing? I don't know, Dad, it's crazy. Like, man, son, this plumbing's leaking. I don't know. It's nuts. Crazy. It's like acid was pouring down there or something. You would never do that, right? You know better.
No, I wouldn't ever. Yeah, so that's it. Stephen Hicks, that's how he met his end, and that's how Jeffrey Dahmer killed his first person, committed his first murder.
The end.
I wish. He started going to college after high school. He was bright, and he probably did it in order to sort of placate his old man. But after he went to Ohio State, his father showed up one day and basically just went in his room, and it was sort of like comic book piles of empty liquor bottles.
He drank all of the time.
Yeah, he would just get drunk all the time. So even though the old man had shelled out for the next semester already, Jeffrey dips. Fuck you, Dad.
He freaking drops out?
Yeah, he drops out.
Even though it's paid for?
Yes.
What an asshole. Asshole step number 2?
I think we're well beyond that.
No, he's done some asshole shit in high school when he's like causing a scene and shit in the mall.
Yeah, I mean, people who didn't like him in high school but were aware of him, we really did remark on his cruelty quite a bit. So his dad says, all right, fine, so then you got to go to the army. So he is persuaded to enlist in the army, and you know what he does there? A combat medic.
Yeah, he loves it.
No, he hates it.
Well, he liked the structure of the army.
He liked being in the army, but he didn't ultimately like being a medic, which is interesting because the people that were around him were saying he hated drawing blood. Like he couldn't look at it and made him upset because he was trying to push the urges down.
Oh, good for him.
I think that's why he was drinking so much, too.
Oh, yeah, numb it. He's like, if I don't drink.
Yeah, I mean, and according to him, in an interview with somebody who'll chime in just a little bit on here, Stone Phillips, he would regret killing people, and the reason he kept trophies, as you'll hear down the line, is because he was trying to stave off the urge to kill somebody again.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is. You know, so he's stationed in West Germany. That's where Dahmer spends his time in the armies. And, you know, 2 soldiers do claim to have been raped by Dahmer during his tenure there. One over a 17-month period.
He's getting Dahmer's poking at him. Hey, you asleep?
The other one got a little bit of a preview of what would be his primary operating method, in that he was drugged prior to having been raped in an APV.
Yeah, like kind of like a tank bus.
Yeah. God damn it.
Like clink, the freaking door shuts. She like spins the thing to lock it. You know? Mm-hmm. Like, no, it's just you and me. Take a drink of this canteen.
Yeah, fucking, you do not want to take anything he gives you.
But I'll tell you what. Never mind. I'll get to it later. His method. There was a positive to his method.
Yeah, the other people in the army basically just talked about he would just get ripped all day and listen to Black Sabbath if he wasn't having to work. Which, I mean, you know, it probably sounds like what I'd have been doing if I was in the army, too.
He was a freaking rebel. And a murderer at this time. A murderous rebel.
Yeah, and an abuser.
He's like, freaking, Judith, what did he do in that one night? How much weed and beer?
Jeffrey recalled having smoked 1 or 2 joints and had consumed a 12-pack of beer that day.
Damn.
That sounds like a party.
Dude was a freaking rock and roller.
You know, so much so that it horribly destroyed his army career.
Yeah.
And he was asked to leave early.
Yeah.
However, he did secure the honorable discharge, which I believe is a big deal. I think, like, if you have a dishonorable one, that, like, fucks your future up pretty good.
Oh, like, probably don't get retirement or
yeah, and, like, if you don't get, like, job interviews, I think it doesn't look so good. So, yeah, where does he go? On his return to the U.S. of A., beautiful sunny Miami.
They ask him, you can go anywhere. Like they'll say they'll fly him anywhere. Mm-hmm. They take him to Miami. He works at a sandwich shop deli. He starts to not pay his rent. He gets kicked out because he's spending his money on booze. Mm-hmm. One night he's sleeping on the beach, and like a rat crawls over him, and he freaks out and calls his dad. He's like, Dad, are you there?
Jeffrey, what can I do for you?
Are you awake, Dad? I'm sorry, I'm calling so late, Dad.
Yeah, I'm up. I'm making a new solution or some shit.
Dad, I'm so sorry I failed you in college at Ohio State, and I failed you as a son. I hope you could forgive me and let me come back home.
I'm sorry. Who is this again?
It's Jeffrey, Dad.
Oh, Jeff.
It's your
my son
Dad.
Jeffrey. That's right.
It's your gay son, Jeffrey.
Still hitting them weights, boy?
Your murderous army honorably discharged son.
Wait, what was that first one again?
Gay.
Oh.
God damn it.
Oh, come on. I thought you said murderous. That would have been so much better.
What if he's like, Dad, I have a confession to make to you. I'm gay and I'm a murderer. God damn it, you're a goddamn gay.
That does probably sum up
and
most
murderer.
Of the attitude in 85.
And murderer. We'll get to that. The gay. God damn it.
Yeah.
Murder me.
You already have.
You murdered my soul.
Yeah. So that Lionel ends up, for a change of scenery, trying to get his shit back together, moves in with his grandmother.
You said Lionel.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jeffrey does that. Yeah. Lionel's grandmother, I assume, is long dead by this point.
Yeah. Lionel stays home. Jeffrey moves in with Grams.
Yep. So
in Milwaukee?
Yeah, Lionel's new wife fucking did not like Jeffrey or David and kind of made sure that Jeffrey couldn't stay there. She's probably had some solid radar for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he moves in with Grandma in Wisconsin, back in Milwaukee. And he gets a job at a plasma center before being laid off and then only relying on Grams for cash.
Freaking Jeffrey.
Yeah, and this is where his legal trouble starts. He gets convicted of pulling his dick out in front of 25 women and children in a park.
By dick, do you mean like penis?
Oh, yeah, penis, sorry. So, what's the punishment for this, you may ask?
It's like 10 years in prison?
No, $50 plus court costs. And I believe this did get him on the sex offender registry, though. So there is that. However, things do start to look up for Jeffrey here. In January of 1985, he was hired to work the big mixer at the Milwaukee Ambrosia factory.
We got a special job for you, Jeffrey. You're going to work the big mixer now.
Making chocolates.
Like all night long from like 6 p.m. to like 2 a.m. or something.
11 p.m., 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Typical third shift.
Dude, I thought it was a perfect title for this freaking show. And you got a freaking... I hope the world's on board with me. Colton, looking at you, Luxembourg newcomers to our international crowd.
Welcome to the dinner party.
Jeffrey and the Chocolate Factory. Boom!
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's the title.
So perfect.
That's the title of this episode
Jeffrey,
right there.
Jeffrey and the Chocolate Factory, brought to you by Dinner in Hell Inc.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, so... And the cool thing about this job, why it was so good for him, is adjusted for inflation, $20 an hour.
Damn.
Yeah, it's not a bad living. Ambrosia.
Ambrosia, okay.
Ambrosia.
Not Godiva, okay. I'm picky about my chocolate. Chocolate head.
Yeah, so one time, eating his lunch outside, a man tosses a note at him that says, "Hey, if you go in the bathroom, I'll blow you." I gotta tell you, I've never got one of those.
I've had a prostitute offer that to me.
Well, yeah, I don't think this was a pro, though. I think this was just a rando.
Yeah. There was no freaking social media back then. There was no iPhones. He was like, how else are you going to just get like...
Yeah, no Craigslist.
Yeah, no Craigslist, but misconnections or something like, hey, I saw you at Walmart. I'll do anything you want. Meet me.
Yeah. Well, so this is a long time since he's, been put into it. So as soon as he gets that rush of sexual energy, his violent fantasies, they're coming back.
It's like there's gay people in Milwaukee. This is awesome.
Now,
He doesn't take the man up on his offer though.
No, he doesn't.
He goes home and freaking
afraid.
fantasizes about it.
Yeah.
What does he do? He freaking goes to a clothing store.
Yeah, he gets a mannequin. He steals it. Yeah, he steals one. So he turns it into sort of a fuck toy. He fucks this mannequin, is what we're saying.
That's what you're saying. I don't talk like that. There's people out there that don't use that language.
Yeah, that's true. But that's what he was doing. That's the truth. That is the real life. He was doing that until his grandma found it. And she made him get rid of it. Which, man, that must have been a weird conversation.
He would stand over the mannequin and masturbate.
That's disgusting, Judith. Please, Brad talks like that enough.
So he's trying to put down the urges. And around this time, he started frequenting gay bars and bathhouses, which is, awesome. Have fun. Live your life. Now, normal people at these places are just having fun sex with each other, and that's great. Jeffrey would try to do that, but, well, he had a certain problem with a living awake partner, didn't he, Judith?
He would only experience an erection about 10% of the time when the person was in an awakened state.
Yeah. And,
Judith, please continue with these details. They're amazing.
I will.
Yeah, so Jeffrey, not a normal guy, did not partake in normal bathhouse activities, and after a while, he started drugging and then raping the men that he would encounter there.
If he were to drug the person, they would then fall asleep and he would not have to participate in anal sex where he was the receptive partner. That is where the person would put their penis in him.
Yeah, he would drop stuff in their drinks.
Sleeping pills.
Yeah.
He said he put like 5 pills in a beer or in a drink. 5. That's how much it took. And then they'd be out for like 8 hours.
Yeah, and they'd obviously wake up pissed, but none of them are calling the cops because, as we said, 1985 Milwaukee, probably not a super pleasant place to be gay. And as you'll see, the police didn't give a shit. So they wouldn't report it because being outed is actually worse. But eventually, after this happens, 12 times, the bathhouse finally revokes his membership.
It's over, Jeffrey. Take your drugging ass out of here and don't come back. Bathhouse is closed.
Yeah, so now that avenue for satisfying himself has been cut off. Rightfully so, but nevertheless cut off. Here's a story of an 18-year-old man who had died, and he thinks, I'm going to dig up his body to take home.
That's right. He freaking hears news of a young man dying, goes to the cemetery with a shovel, realizes the ground's too hard. He actually tried it.
Yeah, it's... digging holes is really fucking hard, man.
Yeah.
I just put in a small fence, and I dug all the holes with manual post hole diggers.
That's so awful on the shoulders.
I think I dug 5 holes, and it took me like 4 hours.
You see my fence at my house?
Yeah.
We did that, and it was the hardest thing I ever freaking did.
If I ever do that again, I'm renting an auger.
We did it in like July, son. It sucked. The whole yard.
You can't do it in the winter. In the winter, it'd be way too hard to dig. Yeah.
And the cement, too. Wouldn't. Yep. Welcome back to Fencing with Dinner in Hell. Property enhancement, Dinner in Hell segment.
Well, anyway, so that wasn't the end of Dahmer's legal troubles either. He was arrested for masturbating in front of 2 12-year-old boys near the Kinnickinnick River.
Were they having, I heard that we're having, what is it called when you bring your lunch in a basket to the park?
A picnic at the Kinnickinnick? Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Now, I read that the kids were just laughing at him.
Really?
Yeah.
They're like, your wiener looks weird, mister. Yeah, mister. Looks like this bass here I caught at the Kinnickinnick.
Yeah.
The mighty Kinnickinnick. Your Peter kind of looks like this rainbow trout here, mister.
Yeah, he tried to say he was just pissing, but...
So at first he was like, yeah, I freaking showed him my wiener. What are you going to do about it? And the cops were like, you already got in trouble for this before. He's like, you know what? I was pissing.
Yeah, well, I didn't do it.
I didn't do that. I was pissing. What did I tell you before? I'm crazy, man. I killed a man. I'll be honest with you. I killed a man. 78. His name was Stephen Hicks. He was a hitchhiker.
He did eventually confess very quickly.
Man, he was like, in 78, I would drink a 12-pack and smoke 2 marijuana cigarettes in a day. It's Jeffrey Dahmer here talking.
All right, so, but that basically takes us up to his, kind of final spiral where he kind of rampages until it all falls apart. And this was sort of his MO. This is what he would do. He would go to Milwaukee gay clubs, and, sometimes he would do this to people on the street, but mostly it was at gay bars at night. He would lure his victims back to his apartment for some erotic photography, for which he generally offered $50. A lot of times these were also prostitutes.
Right.
Yeah, so he would lure them back to his home, where he would first drug them, usually with like a sleeping pill or a barbiturate, like halcyon, I think is the drug that he generally used.
Because some guys wanted to perform anal sex and he did not want to.
And he'd slip it to them in their drink, and then when they were out, he would strangle them to death.
He drugged him, strangled him, performed anal sex before and after death, posed him, and took pictures.
For the love of God, Judith, hearing you say these details in your sweet woman voice, Good Lord. Please continue if you could. Do you have anything more to say? It was he would go to these gay clubs, but it's not like he was the one that was the bottom, right, Judith?
He only allowed anal penetration once or twice because it hurt him.
Oh, that's just being a selfish lover.
He's being honest with himself. He's like, look, this shit hurts. I'm not going to force myself to like this shit. He's like, what I'm going to do is knock this person out, then kill them. Judith.
Yeah, so later on, he would develop into trying to make a perfect sex slave that he could totally control.
Right.
By using a hand drill that he had laying around.
Yeah.
He would drill into the unconscious victim's brains and pour in, acid.
Yeah.
Later on, boiling water.
He wanted them to stay alive.
Yeah, he just wanted someone like because dead body
rots.
Has a pretty quick expiration date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one guy he kept alive in like a coma, but eventually died a couple of days later.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he freaking kept that dude's head.
Yeah,
I think he started keeping heads at this point.
He did. He wanted total control of the sex act. That's why he was going for the zombies. And here he would, strip all the meat off of their skeletons. He would, eat sometimes. And Stone Phillips, I know he's got a question about this.
Why the cannibalism?
Right, Stone. Why the cannibalism, Brad?
He wanted people who would never leave. So if he ate them, that's like the epitome of absolute control. He consumes it and makes it part of himself.
He tried tasting the flesh and the heart. He bought a tenderizer, tenderized the heart, and ate it and the muscle meat. He reported that it had a beef-like flavor.
That it tasted like beef, Judith?
Oh, yowza.
I can't imagine a human tasting like beef. I would think it would taste like...
Sometimes I do it to you. Sometimes you do it to me. Judith, you did it. You got me with that one.
The heart... He wanted to retain some of their spirit, right?
Yeah, some weird shit like that.
Jeffrey Dahmer, a spiritual man.
And like you said about keeping the skull,
yeah,
he gets into trophies here too, big time.
Yeah, what did
He painted the skull with granite spray paint.
That's right, Judith. Granite spray paint. I remember reading that exact thing.
Yeah, that way you could try and pretend they were fake if he got busted.
That's why.
Yeah.
But he also had plans for a temple or like a shrine.
Indeed.
He's building a temple by hand, brick by brick. He's building a shrine. He had plans to build a shrine. And this was he had like two like griffin, I think, statues already in his apartment. And he had like already had some skulls painted, some bones ready.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wanted to incorporate these like figures that he had, like these griffins or gargoyles, into the skull human shit with like a leather chair dead center in front of it so he could like do his private masturbation.
He would masturbate.
I don't like talking like Judith. Judith, if you could do all the dirty work for us, we would appreciate that. Could you do it from now on?
I
do have one tidbit that I think I might be able to get Judith with.
Okay.
Included on that altar at each end were two incense holders made out of penises.
Oh no, the stick goes in the...
Yeah. Now, Judith, are you going to include this little factoid on any future talks that you give?
I will.
Another big part of his deal was the taking of photographs, the erotic ones when people were agreeing to it, and then subsequently after their deaths, because he only killed the most beautiful.
Yeah, like it didn't matter what race they were if he was just attracted to them.
Yeah, he liked small, hairless torsos was mainly what he was after.
So, okay. Time goes on. There's killing. One was a Laotian boy, like young, like 14 right?
Yes, I mean you were talking about prostitutes. A 14-year-old prostitute is not committing a crime; they are a victim. Like you know what I'm saying? But these are in 1985. I think if you're gay, a lot of them got tossed out of their houses real young.
So he brings this Laotian kid to his house.
14-year-old Conorak Synthophone phone.
Nice job. Long story short, he handcuffs him, I believe.
Yes.
Then he knocks him out. He tries to drill into him. And then he runs to the store for more alcohol. He's like,
he's got to get some beer.
Yeah, he's going to be out for a while.
I got this hole in here and I'm all out of PBRs.
He's like, I got time. I got 8 hours. A good 8 hours. Dude goes to the store or the bar to get drunk. Comes home. On his way home, was like, what? This freaking kid is on the corner surrounded by like neighbors. And he's like crying and speaking in Laotian.
Naked.
With
a hole in his head.
Yeah, and bleeding from where he goes number 2 from.
Yes.
And these women called 911 and freaking the cops show up.
Yeah, when Dahmer's back, beer in hand, the cops are there with Conrack.
And he's like, look, this dude's my lover. He's drunk. He's upset.
He's 19.
He's 19, you guys.
He's not clearly a hairless, pubeless fucking boy.
Like even a 30-year-old Asian man doesn't have body hair, like let alone a 14-year-old. He must look real young. Yeah. He's 19, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, look, takes him to the apartment. He's like, look, man, I got Polaroids of him right here doing this and that to me. You know what I'm saying? He's my boyfriend. You know what I'm saying? And the cops are like, all right, you take care of him.
Yeah, sure.
Take care of your boyfriend.
Yeah, take this clearly drugged child back. Just because they were probably terrified. They're like, I don't want to deal with these gays.
I don't want to get gay on me. I don't want to get the gay. But, so the cops leave the kid there. And what happens to the kid?
He winds up in the Creepy Bone Museum / eatery.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, Jeffrey, he liked the thighs and buys. Sort of like a all dark meat guy, I guess.
So that guy dies.
Conrack Synthophone phone, yes.
He goes to the freaking gay parade in Chicago, kills a hitchhiker there. Like he gets a hitchhiker and kills him. Like he's killing people. There's a total of 17 total.
Yeah. Now a key thing, which we'll get to in the end, is how fucking nightmarish of a hellscape this apartment was. He kind of lived in the hood too, so that meant the cops didn't even really come there. They don't like being there. I mean, if they didn't like gay people, then they sure as fuck were racist too. Yeah. So Dahmer lived in like a 70% black neighborhood, so the police they just didn't care about these people. It's terrible to say, but that's what the deal was.
In the end, the officers that left the boy there were fired, and it was because of reaction from like minorities. They were like, "Cause he's a minority, you left him."
Yeah, I mean they were at his apartment where there were multiple decaying bodies.
There was, yeah.
Yeah, and they were just like, gay people are gross. This is probably a gay smell, so they're fine. We're just going to leave here. Yeah. It doesn't smell like there's 45 dead bodies in the fucking other room.
One of those officers has a Wikipedia page. I didn't click on it, but I was like, God damn. Can't be for Officer of the Year. It's got to be for like how shitty he was for leaving them.
What's funny is they were originally fired. They were later rehired, and they were named by the police union Officers of the Year.
For doing what?
I don't know.
They must have did a lot of extra good shit.
Yeah.
In my fantasy,
I doubt it. I think they're just being assholes.
In my fantasy, they helped the world. That's how you get to be Officer of the Year.
Okay. Yeah.
Want to get to the one that escaped and brought the house down?
Yeah. We've talked enough generals to have the idea of sort of how he got down.
You got his name?
Yeah, so on July 2nd, 1991, after having already killed 16 young men, after killing 17 young men, Jeffrey Dahmer lures young Tracy Edwards back to his apartment with the promise of 100 bones for nudes.
100?
100 bones.
This dude doesn't have money for like paying rent, and here he is bounced. Like time was running out for this guy.
Dahmer?
He's got money to pay for guys to come over to pose. Well, he never
that chocolate factory.
Oh, here's
money.
the thing. They never leave with the 50.
Yeah. It's like
blood money.
It's like hookers and Grand Theft Auto.
Man, if you had a $50 bill on you right now, you want to check the date on that thing because it could be the 50 that Dahmer used.
Over and over.
Over and over. The 50. Shit. So he invites the guy over for $100. The guy's like, yeah, sure. Sweet.
Yeah, but as soon as he gets inside, he can tell it's fucking something's terribly wrong in here.
Well, because he had a fish tank. Guy had a fish tank, man. I was like, fuck that.
Yeah, that's what an excuse he used for the landlord when the slumlord complained about hey, Jeffrey, what's the smell in there?
You are so far off. I was watching trial footage. The guy's like fucking from Uganda or Nigeria. He's like, and Jeffrey told me anything, pata. He's like jet black African, like heavy accent guy.
Yeah, you thought that was my Milwaukee accent? That was my Ugandan
Congo
accent.
That's your Kenyan?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This guy, you should see the...
I know the two sound really similar, but there's subtle differences.
He say, I was going to tell him he was evicted, but, and then he got arrested.
Yeah, but he claimed he had a bunch of tropical fish that died.
Yeah. So the guy's like, what's this? The guy notices an awful odor in the place.
Yeah, so he's starting to get antsy, and once Dahmer notices that he's getting antsy, well, he figured out he couldn't drink him under the table, and then he ran out of drugs. He didn't have any more drugs to dose Tracy Edwards with. So he was like, I know, if I can just get him into some, bondage shots with the handcuffs, we'll be all good to go. So... he gets one. He tries to attack him to get because he's like, no, I'm not fucking putting on handcuffs in this hellscape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once he attacks Edwards and tries to get the handcuffs on him, he gets him on one wrist, but Edwards is able to sock him one, pop Dahmer one in the face, which is awesome, and then bolt through the door. So he's able to get out. He's out of the apartment. He pulled a synthesome phone.
He gets to the police station. He's like, can you guys get these handcuffs off me?
He flags down the cops on the street.
He's like, can you get these cuffs off me?
Yeah, and they're like, why?
We don't have a magic key, bro. It's a special key.
Yeah, because Edwards, I believe, does not have clothes on again.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Or at most, he's slightly dressed.
Yeah.
And the cops, he doesn't even want to press charges because Edwards is afraid of it coming out that he's gay.
Right.
He even claimed later on when he was on talk shows and shit that like he lured his friends there trying to trick them, but Dahmer didn't do that.
So the cops go back with him because they go back with him to get the cuff off at Dahmer's house with Dahmer's key. Mm-hmm. And they go in and it's like all over for Dahmer.
Yeah, Dahmer seems dejected, but he lets him in and they're like, where's the key? And he's like, I don't know. Maybe it's in the bedroom.
I think there was a body at the time laying
on the
bedroom.
bed.
Yeah. Like one of his previous victims.
Yeah, and like a half a dozen torsos and a blue jug.
So the cops discover these things.
Well, the first thing they find are some Polaroids
of dismembered people in the room.
Yeah, and then they're looking at these and they're like, holy shit, I think these are real. And then they're like, holy shit, that's this wallpaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. They slowly realize that the photos are from that apartment.
So gross.
Yeah. It smells like a shit-filled slaughterhouse in there, too. It's kind of a dead giveaway. These cops a little bit better than their predecessors.
Yeah. They open the fridge.
Yes, they open up the fridge.
And there's heads and body parts.
Yeah, there's a head in there. That was the dead giveaway where he's like, holy shit, grab him. And it's a brief kind of like half-hearted run for the door. But they just grab him down and he just gives up and gets handcuffed. And his words were, For what I did, I should be dead. Truer words, never spoken. Yeah, so the contents of the Dahmer apartment when the cops searched it, when they did their exhaustive search, and you might want to be sitting for this one. 4 severed heads in Dahmer's kitchen, a total of 7 skulls, some painted, some bleach, found in Dahmer's bedroom and in a closet. Blood drippings upon a tray from the bottom of the refrigerator, and 2 human hearts on the shelves. In the freezer, investigators found an entire torso, a bag of human organs, flesh stuck to the ice at the bottom.
Blood in the fridge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, blood drops.
2 entire skeletons. Now, this is outside the freezer, but in the apartment also. 2 entire skeletons, severed hands, 2 severed and preserved penises.
Nice. Incense holders.
Oh, yeah. A mummified scalp. And in that big-ass blue drum, 3 further dismembered torsos in an acid solution, and 74 of the Polaroid pictures.
All in an apartment.
Yeah. Not a house.
It's not even your house, dude. You can't make this apartment your own. Apartment's temporary.
And not a luxury apartment. This was in sort of the slum.
Yeah.
So that is a high concentration of gore in an apartment. That's for damn sure.
But on the positive side of this whole thing is that he didn't have one cockroach. They were like, fuck that.
No cockroaches. Plenty of maggots.
Yeah. Gnats. Man, got a lot of gnats in here.
So over the next 2 weeks, spanning 60 hours of interviews, he openly confessed to the crimes. He described how his only thoughts were of killing and attaining the beautiful people for the last 2 months, ramping up to Edwards. His pace really went crazy there. He wanted to describe the altar, and he eventually pleaded guilty but insane. So he was saying, I totally did all this shit, but I am not culpable because I am insane legally. Now, that would be a very difficult thing to prove because the state was able to prove he was prepared for the crime and he was capable of controlling his impulses because he would go long stretches without killing anybody. He knew it was wrong, and he was sane. He wasn't a necrophiliac. He liked fucking the dead bodies, but he'd rather have a live one, so he's not a necrophiliac in the textbook sense. So he's culpable for his actions. He's sane. He's clearly has a lot of, mental health issues, but legally speaking, he's sane, and he's sentenced to like 1,000 years in prison. And specifically, that would be the Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, Wisconsin, May 1st, 1992.
He's in prison for like 3 years.
Yep, the first year he spends entirely in solitary confinement. But in that time, he does become a born-again Christian.
Good for him.
Yeah, I guess so. But...
Everybody needs some shit. In prison, what do you got? You don't have shit, so you fuck. I might as well do religion.
Yeah, I guess.
No TV. Fuck.
But after the year, he gets transferred into general population where...
he's in with everybody.
Yeah, and that's a death sentence from the beginning. Because he's a child offender, which prisoners hate. Yeah. He's gay, which 1985 Wisconsin prisoners also hated.
Yeah.
And he's famous, which can get you a lot of credit for killing a famous prisoner. A lot of street or prison cred, I guess, in that.
So he gets assigned to bathroom detail.
Yep,
right?
He's cleaning. And one day, and a lot of people think that this was done on purpose, he was left alone with 2 fellow murderers to clean the bathrooms. Now, these were... One of the men was Christopher Scarver, a schizophrenic man imprisoned for a 1990 murder who had a confrontation with Dahmer and was also horribly repulsed by his crimes. Right. So everybody knew that these two hated one another, or Scarver hated Dahmer. Dahmer was sort of resigned to his fate, it seemed like. He would repeatedly tell his mother in phone calls that he didn't care if anything happened to him while he was in prison, meaning getting murdered.
She was worried about him, yeah. He's like, look, don't worry. If it happens, it happens. Like when he was in school getting his ass beat, you just let it happen.
Yeah.
Boom, foreshadow complete.
Full circle.
As well as the preserving of the bones in the jars when he was a kid. Preserving the bodies in his apartment in like the barrels.
Mm-hmm.
Complete.
The other man in the bathrooms today is Jesse Anderson, a white supremacist murderer who killed his wife.
He, the second guy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he didn't die immediately. Jeffrey did.
Jeffrey died, I think he survived for a couple of hours.
Oh.
Yeah, but pretty quick he did die, yeah. Once alone, Scarver brought out the 18-inch metal rod he had concealed and attacked Dahmer with it, beating him to death, severely damaging his face and head. I mean, just that must have been an absolutely brutal scene. No worse than Dahmer deserved, I dare say.
Yeah. He did what he could with what he had.
Yeah.
Didn't have many choices. He had a little pipe.
And
rod.
like I said earlier, this was probably a setup by the authorities, so he probably didn't have to try too hard to conceal it.
If you saw the reaction of some of those relatives in the courtroom videos, I think it was like the families were like, put out a hit. Like, we'll pay these people. You got a life sentence. We'll give your family money if you kill Dahmer for us.
Yeah, maybe, but
You know
the
what I mean?
guards had to be involved because they were just sort of like,
They left
all
him.
right, guys, have fun.
Do what you want.
Boom, shut the door and just let him do it. But after Scarver killed Dahmer, and the reason why nobody noticed, maybe, is because according to him, he didn't resist and he didn't make any noise while he just was beat to death. He just sort of laid back and just let it happen.
Wow.
And after Dahmer was dead, Scarver went to the other room and beat Jesse Anderson to death.
Yeah.
Then he just walked out and, I imagine covered in blood and just said, God told me to do this.
The Jesse Anderson died 2 days later in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Dahmer died after a few hours. Few hours of suffering before eventually dying. I don't know if he was conscious, though.
God damn, that was a long episode. That's it. You
That's
can't
it.
tell
Dahmer's dead.
There's no more Dahmer info. Well, there's tons that we left out, but
Go look for yourselves. Have the joy of discovery.
This is probably our longest episode ever.
Yeah, Dahmer. No funeral. Ashes scattered, undisclosed location. That's the end of the story.
And we want to say thank you for all the people around the world.
A big week this week in the UK and Canada.
Well, yeah, it was like a week in October. UK outplayed America, US, United States, in listens for us.
Mm-hmm.
And this week, Canada, the week of November 5th, Canada outplayed America by like a long shot. Like Canada's stepping it up. Welcome, Canada, neighbors to the north.
Nice work up
Holy
there.
shit. Canada. C-A-N-A-D-A. They say A all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you spell Canada.
Hey, do we have any Canadians out there in our beautiful studio audience? Made the trip across the river, huh?
Good to hear from you.
Nice.
Enthusiastic.
Nice. Woo, that was a tough, long one.
Yes, it was.
Thank you so much to the band.
So killer.
Killing it. Is there anything else that you'd like to hear us cover? You can get at us on Twitter at Dinner in Hell Pod. We are on Facebook. Search for Dinner in Hell. We are on SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, all kinds of podcast apps. We're all over the place. Please don't forget to rate and subscribe on iTunes. Thank you so much for listening.
Oh, Dr. Becker, please go to immediately after you leave. Go to iTunes, subscribe.
I will.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.